Now that we have determined the leading coefficient of our function, what do we do next? So let's first see an even function. Let's assume that the leading coefficient of this leading function is actually positive. So it will look something like f of x is going to equal to x squared. Let's actually look at the table. If I have my little table right here, I have my x and my f of x values. And I'm going to plug in negative and positive values. So I'm going to start with a -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2. And I'm going to specifically plug them in to see what I get. So if I have f of -2, this equals to -2 to the second power, which is the same as 4. -2 times -2 is 4. Now let's look at f of -1, which in this case is -1 to the second power, which is -1 times -1, which is 1. F of 0 is simply going to be 0 squared, which is 0. F of 1 is going to be 1 squared, which is 1. And f of 2 is going to be 2 squared, which is 4. So the result in this table is a 4, 1, 0, 1, 4. And if you notice, all of the values are actually positive. Regardless of what I put in for my x, all of my values are positive. Thus, if we wanted to graph this, we would see that our values or our line is going to be formed something like this, where I have end behaviors that are simply going up and up. What is this talking about when I'm saying that these end behaviors are actually going up and up? With this, we can actually see that our x is going to determine these end behaviors as they are going up or up. So what I'm talking about is as x approaches one of the sides, or let's say in this case, infinity to the right, my f of x is approaching up, which in this case is also infinity. That said, as x approaches negative infinity, or it's going to the left, my f of x is actually also approaching up, which in this case is infinity. Now what happens when our leading coefficient is actually negative instead of positive for our even function? Now if we look at a specific function, we can see that its f of x is going to equal to negative x squared. If we look at the table, we can see that our x and our f of x values, if I use the same values that I used before, -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, we are going to result with something that looks like this, which is -4, -1, 0, -1, and -4. Notice that all of the values are again negative. Thus, if we wanted to graph this, it would look something like this, like an inverted U shape or an N shape in this case. So if we want to look at the end behaviors, we can see that these are going down and down. Now what does this mean again? What this means is that as I am approaching x to the right or towards infinity, my f of x is going down or it's going negative infinity. And as I'm approaching x to the left or towards negative infinity, my f of x is approaching down or negative infinity as well.